Imagine understanding the deepest secrets of the universe simply by observing what surrounds you. Imagine recognizing the hidden patterns that connect everything from the stars in distant galaxies to the atoms within your own body patterns that reveal the true nature of reality itself. The law of correspondence is not merely an ancient philosophical concept, nor a spiritual metaphor. It is a fundamental principle woven into the very fabric of existence for those ready to perceive beyond the veil of ordinary perception. This guide will take you on a journey to uncover the practical application of this Hermetic principle, enabling you to see reality through new eyes. Together, we'll explore how understanding correspondence can transform your perception of the world and yourself. To understand the law of correspondence, we must first recognize that reality is multidimensional and hierarchical. Across millennia of spiritual traditions, diverse cultures have revealed that existence operates on distinct, yet interconnected planes, each reflecting the others like infinite mirrors. The ancient Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without, encapsulates this universal truth perfectly. Every pattern that exists manifests simultaneously across different scales and dimensions, from the microscopic to the cosmic, from the material to the ethereal. The 7 primary planes of existence. These parallel manifestations occur across 7 primary planes of existence. Picture them as layers of reality, each one distinct yet deeply interconnected, like the floors of a grand cosmic building. Let's take a journey through each one. The physical plane. This is where we live, our everyday lives. It's the world of matter, of things you can touch, see, and feel. The chair you're sitting on, the phone in your hand, the ground beneath your feet all belong to this plane. It's the most tangible, but also the most limited in scope. The etheric plane. Just beyond the physical lies the etheric plane. Think of it as the blueprint of life itself. This is where vital energy, what some call prana or chi, flows and circulates. It's the invisible force that animates your body, the energy that makes plants grow and rivers flow. The astral plane. Now, we step into the realm of emotions, desires, and psychic impressions. This is where your dreams take shape, where your deepest fears and highest aspirations reside. It's a vibrant, ever-shifting world, colored by the intensity of human experience. The mental plane. Here, thoughts reign supreme. This is the domain of ideas, intellectual concepts, and the power of the mind. Every invention, every piece of art, every philosophical idea originates here. It's where creativity and logic dance together in perfect harmony. The causal plane. This is the source of archetypal patterns and universal laws. Imagine it as the cosmic library, where the blueprints of existence are stored. Every law of nature, every fundamental truth, finds its roots here. The Buddhic plane. As we ascend higher, we reach the plane of divine wisdom and intuitive knowledge. This is where the mind transcends logic and taps into pure understanding. It's the realm of enlightenment, where the soul connects with universal truths. The Atmic plane. At the pinnacle lies the Atmic plane, pure spirit and ultimate consciousness. This is the essence of existence, the source of all that is. It's beyond words, beyond thought, beyond form. It simply is. Each plane vibrates at a specific frequency, interpenetrating all others yet maintaining its distinct nature. Together they form the totality of existence. In the law of correspondence, each plane reflects and influences all others, enabling conscious beings to affect reality across dimensions. When you truly grasp this principle, you realize that nothing occurs in isolation. Every thought, emotion, and action creates ripples across the entire spectrum of reality. This phenomenon isn't mystical speculation, but an observable truth that operates whether we recognize it or not. How many times have you noticed that your physical environment mirrors your mental state, or that societal structures reflect collective consciousness? These are not coincidences, but manifestations of correspondence in action. The earliest formulation of this principle appears in the Emerald Tablet attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, which states, "That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above to accomplish the miracle of the one thing." In Vedic tradition, this concept appears as the relationship between Brahman, the cosmic reality, and Atman, the individual soul, both containing and reflecting each other. The great psychologist Carl Jung recognized this principle in his concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal underlying patterns connecting psyche and matter. As Einstein noted, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a persistent one. What appears separate is actually connected through invisible correspondences across planes of existence. The law of correspondence is not an exclusive privilege of mystics or philosophers. Anyone willing to observe reality with clear perception can witness its action. The principle manifests most clearly in moments of alignment, when inner and outer realities synchronize, revealing the hidden architecture of existence. Many confuse the law of correspondence with simple metaphor or poetic language, but there is an essential difference. Metaphors are human constructs that compare unlike things. Correspondence reveals actual connections between different manifestations of the same pattern. This principle is described as the cosmic mirror, where each plane perfectly reflects all others, where microcosm contains macrocosm, and where studying any part reveals truths about the whole. Experienced Hermetic students report discovering mathematical patterns that repeat from quantum physics to galactic formation, witnessing how emotional states manifest as physical conditions, and observing how individual consciousness shapes external reality. This, my friends, is the true meaning of as above, so below. For many, this principle provides a framework for understanding the interconnectedness of all existence beyond superficial appearances. When you recognize that your inner world directly corresponds to your outer circumstances, you gain tremendous power to transform your reality. Additionally, the law of correspondence allows you to decode the language of symbols, recognize patterns across different domains, and access knowledge through analogy and correspondence. It is important to emphasize that while this principle operates universally, its application is deeply personal. Each individual experiences it uniquely depending on their level of consciousness, awareness, and intention. However, the path to mastering it is accessible to all, requiring observation, practice, and awareness. In the coming chapters, we will delve into the manifestations and applications necessary for harnessing the power of correspondence. But for now, remember the key to this journey begins with recognizing that nothing exists in isolation, and that every pattern repeats across all planes of existence. As the great occultist Manly P. Hall wrote, "He who understands the law of correspondence holds the key to solving all mysteries." Get ready, for this journey is only beginning. The planes of manifestation are the dimensional levels where the law of correspondence operates, revealing how patterns repeat across different scales and frequencies of existence. Unlike the material world where objects appear separate and isolated, the Hermetic understanding recognizes reality as a unified whole expressing itself through corresponding patterns at every level. As the Kybalion states, the universe is mental, and mind creates patterns that repeat endlessly through all planes of existence. Across these planes, we encounter a reality that is both infinitely diverse and fundamentally unified. It is diverse because each plane has unique characteristics, properties, and laws governing its expression. It is unified because all planes are interconnected through correspondence, forming a coherent whole that reveals the same essential patterns. Understanding the planes of manifestation is an ineffable experience. As your awareness expands, you begin to perceive how the same essential patterns appear in different guises across all levels of existence. You see how atomic structures mirror solar systems, how the branching patterns of trees reflect the neural networks in your brain, and how the rhythm of your heartbeat corresponds to cosmic cycles. For the knowledgeable, it becomes possible to read one level of reality and understand all others through correspondence. Universal principles become accessible through studying their particular manifestations. Yet the most fascinating aspect of these planes is not their structure, but what can be perceived through them. Profound insights into the nature of consciousness, universal laws that govern all existence, and transformative wisdom that transcends intellectual understanding. The patterns revealed through correspondence vary immensely, yet all share fundamental similarities. There are mathematical sequences that appear throughout nature, a Fibonacci spiral visible in seashells, galaxies, and the arrangement of flower petals. Golden proportions that create harmony in ancient architecture, human anatomy, and musical frequencies. There are energetic patterns where opposing forces create balance and harmony, yin and yang, positive and negative, masculine and feminine, each complementing the other across all planes of existence. There are structural patterns where complex systems self-organize in remarkably similar ways, whether in crystal formation, social hierarchies, or the internet, all following principles of network theory. There exists in nature a universal language of pattern, wrote Buckminster Fuller, a great visionary architect. Patterns that reveal themselves from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. These patterns exist across all planes for those who know how to perceive. However, just as there are harmonious patterns, there are also discordant, once chaotic structures created when correspondence is disrupted or unbalanced. These regions are characterized by fragmentation, disharmony, and entropic decay, where patterns break down and coherence seems to disappear. These areas are not inherently negative but represent temporarily disrupted correspondences between different planes of reality, both individual and collective. On the planes of manifestation, you will encounter a vast variety of fractal patterns. Some may be simple and easily recognized, such as the branching of trees, rivers, and blood vessels. Others are complex multidimensional patterns that can only be perceived through expanded awareness. Fractal principles are mathematical patterns where each part contains the whole in miniature. They demonstrate perfect correspondence between micro and macro scales. They appear in countless natural forms, from coastlines to cloud formations, and are easily recognizable by their self-similarity across different scales. Vibrational harmonics occur when frequencies resonate across different planes, creating corresponding patterns. These vibrational correspondences can be seen in sound waves, forming geometric patterns in sand, emotions creating ripples in water, and thoughts affecting physical matter. Vibrational harmonics can interact with conscious awareness, offering teachings or, in some cases, revealing hidden connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena. It is crucial for students of correspondence to be prepared for these perceptions, maintaining mental clarity and open awareness to avoid misinterpretation. Practices such as meditation, sacred geometry study, and consistent observation are highly recommended to develop the ability to perceive correspondences across planes. Despite the challenges, recognizing patterns across planes of manifestation is a profound and transformative experience. Recognizing correspondence in your own life creates a bridge between abstract understanding and lived wisdom. There are forces that obscure these patterns, creating veils of illusion that make correspondence difficult to perceive. They inhabit the mental plane primarily, and are often reinforced by limiting beliefs, rigid thinking, and fragmented perception. As the esoteric teacher Franz Barden taught, the veil of illusion exists not in reality but in our perception of it. Clear vision sees correspondence everywhere. Clouded vision sees only separation and chaos. The malleability of human perception allows belief systems and cultural conditioning to shape what patterns we recognize and which we ignore. Some may use this perceptual flexibility to reject correspondences that challenge their worldview, assuming that apparent separation is the nature of reality rather than an illusion created by limited awareness. Friends, if you ever find yourself unable to perceive correspondence, try shifting your perspective. Literally look at the situation from different angles, at different scales, or through different senses. Remember, every pattern exists simultaneously across all planes. Despite these challenges, among the most common experiences when studying correspondence are moments of profound insight when hidden connections suddenly become visible, like recognizing the identical structures in a neuron and the cosmic web, or seeing how emotional patterns in childhood reappear in adult relationships. We can access understanding that transcends rational analysis alone, revealing the unified nature of all existence. This, my friend, is the true hidden knowledge. Some students report experiencing sudden expansions of awareness, seeing threads of light connecting all things, and feeling the underlying unity that permeates the universe at all levels. Another profound experience is receiving intuitive knowledge through correspondence, where understanding one level of reality spontaneously reveals insights about others. Much of this information is commonly processed through analogical thinking, but with practice, it becomes possible to perceive direct correspondence without intellectual mediation. The principle of correspondence is above all a tool for expanding consciousness. Every recognition of pattern and connection has a purpose, whether awakening intuition, integrating fragmented understanding, or transcending the illusion of separation. It reveals that division is an illusion, and that reality is far more interconnected than we can imagine. Exploring correspondence with open awareness, disciplined observation, and consistent practice allows you not only to discover a new understanding of reality, but also to reconnect with the deepest and most universal aspects of existence. Fractal patterns, in turn, are the perfect expression of correspondence in action. They are mathematical structures that repeat identically across different scales, demonstrating perfect self-similarity. Their function is to reveal how the whole is contained within each part, ensuring that cosmic patterns are preserved at every level of manifestation. Many traditions mention that fractal patterns are the signature of divine intelligence in creation, the evidence of correspondence made visible. Contrary to materialistic perspectives, there is immense significance in these repeating patterns. They demonstrate that the universe operates according to coherent principles that manifest across all scales. As Benoit Mandelbrot, the father of fractal mathematics, described, "Fractal geometry is nature's own geometry." Understanding planes of manifestation and fractal patterns provide a framework for perceiving correspondence. It becomes clear that although reality appears diverse and complex, there is an underlying unity revealed through repeating patterns. This certainty frees you from the illusion of separation, allowing for a deeper and more transformative understanding of existence. Before recognizing patterns across planes, before feeling the subtle connections between inner and outer worlds, preparation is the key that separates profound insight from superficial observation. Perceiving correspondence is not just a technique, but a state of consciousness, a fine-tuning between perception, awareness, and understanding. Imagine yourself as a musical instrument. If it's not properly tuned, the harmonies of correspondence will remain inaudible. Similarly, your mind and senses need to be in perfect harmony for consciousness to expand and recognize the patterns that permeate all levels. Preparation is not limited to moments of deliberate study. It is a continuous process, a daily cultivation of expanded awareness, clear perception, and pattern recognition. In this chapter, we will explore the fundamental steps that will prepare you to experience a conscious and transformative understanding of correspondence. Meditation, observation, symbolic thinking, and energetic awareness will be the pillars of this journey. As the ancient Hermetic teaching says, before perceiving the invisible, one must refine the perception. Perceiving correspondence requires a balanced state of consciousness. Healthy practices such as regular meditation, contemplation of nature, and engaging in activities that expand awareness are essential. Avoid information overload, especially from fragmented sources like social media, as they can create mental static that obscures patterns. Direct experience with natural systems like forests, oceans, and night skies help attune your perception to universal rhythms. The environment where you prepare for perceiving correspondence should be conducive to clear thinking. Choose a space where you can observe without distraction, preferably a quiet room with natural light. Remove any objects that might fragment your attention. If you wish, you can create a sacred space with elements representing different planes, such as crystals, plants, geometric patterns, and symbolic objects, which helps attune your mind to multidimensional thinking. Another important practice is consistently observing similarities across different domains. Notice how water forms the same vortex patterns, whether in river currents, ocean whirlpools, or stirred tea. Clearly recognize that these are not separate phenomena, but the same pattern manifesting at different scales and contexts. As the Hermetic teaching says, the trained eye sees correspondence where the untrained eye sees only separation. The mind is like a lens for perceiving correspondence. To recognize patterns across planes, this lens must be clear and focused. The first step is therefore to develop your powers of observation. Observe nature systematically, looking for repeating patterns across different scales and systems. Here you can use the comparative observation technique. Start with something small like the veining in a leaf. Then look for similar patterns in river systems seen from above or the branching of lightning across the sky. With each observation, note the similarities and differences, recognizing both the pattern's essence and its contextual variations. In this state, your perception will begin to expand. You will no longer see isolated objects, but interconnected manifestations of universal patterns. This creates the ideal conditions for recognizing correspondence across all planes of existence. While the senses must be sharpened, the mind must be trained in analogical and symbolic thinking. Many beginners fail to perceive correspondence because even with keen observation, the mind remains locked in linear thinking. Here, symbolic understanding becomes a fundamental tool. The regular practice of studying sacred geometry, mythology, and symbolic systems teaches the mind to recognize archetypal patterns that manifest across different domains. Before attempting to perceive grand correspondences, take a few minutes to simply observe ordinary objects, noting how their structure might reflect cosmic principles. As the Kabbalion states, "He who understands symbols understands correspondence." Throughout history, different philosophers and esoteric teachers have presented methods and techniques to facilitate the recognition of correspondence, enabling consciousness to perceive the hidden connections between all planes of existence. In this chapter, You will learn about some of the main techniques that have helped thousands of students worldwide experience this profound principle. Developed by Hermetic students, this approach focuses on deliberate observation of natural and human-made systems to recognize identical patterns across different scales. How to do it? Asterisk. With clear intention, observe a natural phenomenon such as the spiral of a seashell. Then consciously look for the same pattern in other contexts: galaxies, weather systems, water draining in a sink. Note the essential similarities despite differences in scale or medium. Focus on the pattern's underlying mathematical or energetic structure. Over time, this technique can trigger a profound recognition of unity amidst diversity and eventually lead to spontaneous perception of correspondence across all aspects of reality. This technique is considered one of the most effective approaches for developing correspondence awareness. Popularized by teachers in the Western mystery tradition, symbolic correspondence involves recognizing how archetypal symbols manifest across different domains of experience. It involves identifying fundamental symbols that appear universally, such as the circle, cross, spiral, triangle, and understanding how each represents a principle that operates across all planes of existence. The technique works by training the mind to think analogically, seeing relationships between seemingly unrelated phenomena based on their shared symbolic pattern. This sensation is natural and signals the awakening of correspondence awareness in consciousness. Manly P. Hall describes symbolic thinking as the language of correspondence that enables the conscious bridge between visible and invisible realms. How to recognize symbolic correspondence. 1. Begin by studying traditional symbol systems such as sacred geometry, tarot, the I Ching, or astrological archetypes. R. Learn the essential meaning of primary symbol triangle trinity, creation, circle, unity, wholeness, spiral, evolution, growth, cross, intersection of worlds. 3. Observe how these symbols appear naturally in diverse contexts, from molecular structures to cosmic formations. 4. Practice seeing beyond the physical form to the essence of the pattern. The mirroring technique focuses on recognizing how internal states correspond to external circumstances. This practice reveals how personal consciousness shapes external reality through the law of correspondence. How to practice. Begin by observing your emotional and mental states, noting their qualities and patterns. Then observe your external environment and circumstances, looking for reflections of your inner condition. Notice how changes in internal states often precede shifts in external reality. Keep a correspondence journal to document these observations, noting synchronicities, reflections, and parallel patterns between inner and outer states. Over time, patterns will emerge that reveal the intimate connection between consciousness and manifestation. Advanced practitioners report that this technique can eventually enable conscious reality creation through deliberately aligning internal states with desired external conditions. This ancient technique uses the 4 classical elements earth, water, fire, and Eros archetypal lenses for perceiving correspondence across all planes. The practice: study the qualities and characteristics of each element in its physical form. Earth represents solidity, stability, and form. Water embodies fluidity, emotion, and adaptability. Fire manifests as energy, transformation, and will. Air represents movement, communication, and intellect. Recognize how these elemental qualities manifest across different planes: physical objects, emotional states, mental concepts, and spiritual principles. For example, observe how earthy qualities appear in physical objects, crystals, emotions, groundedness, thoughts, practical ideas, and spiritual concepts, embodiment. The elemental correspondence method provides a structured framework for recognizing patterns across different domains of experience. As one adept described, the elements are the alphabet of correspondence, revealing the language of creation in all its forms. This advanced method involves consciously shifting awareness between different scales of reality to perceive identical patterns across micro and macro dimensions. Process begin with a chosen pattern, such as a spiral. First observe it at the smallest accessible scale, perhaps a shell or plant. Gradually expand your awareness to perceive the same pattern at increasingly larger scales, weather systems, galactic formations, cosmic structures. Then reverse the process, moving from the cosmic to the microscopic. With regular practice, this technique creates a fluid awareness that can move effortlessly between different scales, perceiving the continuity of pattern across all dimensions. Advanced practitioners describe experiencing a profound sense of interconnectedness and unity with all existence through this practice. The law of correspondence is not merely a philosophical principle to contemplate, it is a practical tool for transformation that can be applied to every aspect of daily life. When we recognize that our internal states directly influence our external reality, we gain the ability to consciously shape our experience through this universal law. In this chapter, we will explore concrete applications of correspondence across different domains of human experience, from personal development and relationships to health, creativity, and spiritual growth. Each application demonstrates how understanding correspondence can lead to profound transformation. The most immediate application of correspondence is personal transformation. Since your external reality mirrors your internal state, changing your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can directly transform your life circumstances. Practical application. Begin by identifying an area of your life where you desire change. Rather than focusing exclusively on changing external conditions, turn your attention inward to identify the corresponding internal patterns, beliefs, emotions, or habitual thoughts that may be generating the unwanted external circumstances. Work consciously to transform these internal patterns through practices such as mindfulness meditation, to observe thoughts without attachment, affirmation and visualization, to install new thought patterns, shadow work to integrate unconscious aspects that may be creating unwanted correspondences, energy practices to shift emotional states that manifest as external conditions. Once internal patterns shift, external circumstances naturally follow, often in surprisingly synchronistic ways. As Hermetic teacher Franz Barden noted, change your vibration, and the universe around you changes in perfect correspondence. Remember that this process requires patience and consistency. The law of correspondence operates across all planes, but may manifest at different rates, depending on various factors. Trust the process and maintain your internal alignment with your desired outcome. Our relationships directly reflect our relationship with ourselves, making them perfect laboratories for observing correspondence in action. Difficulties with others often reveal unresolved internal conflicts, while harmonious connections reflect inner balance. When experiencing relationship challenges, look for the corresponding pattern within yourself. If you find others frequently behave aggressively toward you, examine where you might harbor unexpressed anger or boundary issues. If you attract relationships that lack commitment, explore your own fears of intimacy or abandonment. The technique of relationship mirroring can be particularly effective. 1. Identify recurring patterns in your relationships. 2. Ask yourself, how might this reflect something within me? 3. Resolve the internal pattern through acceptance, healing, and conscious choice. 4. Observe how your relationships naturally transform as your inner state shifts. Many practitioners report that once internal patterns are addressed, Relationships either naturally harmonize or gently dissolve, making space for new connections that reflect your evolved internal state. The Hermetic understanding has always recognized that physical health corresponds to mental, emotional, and spiritual states, a concept increasingly validated by mind-body medicine and psychoneuroimmunology. Practical approach. Consider physical symptoms as messages from other planes of your being. Without replacing proper medical care, explore the potential correspondences between physical conditions and your thoughts, emotions, or life circumstances. For example, persistent throat problems might correspond to difficulties expressing your truth. Digestive issues often relate to processing life experiences, and chronic tension may reflect rigid thinking patterns or unexpressed emotions. Healing approaches that honor correspondence include energy healing modalities that address the etheric blueprint behind physical manifestations, emotional release work that resolves feelings stored in the body, mental pattern recognition that identifies thought forms manifesting as physical conditions, spiritual practices that align all planes of being with their highest expression. Many have experienced remarkable healing by addressing the root cause across multiple planes, rather than treating only physical symptoms. Creativity is perhaps the purest expression of correspondence in action, the process of bringing forth ideas from mental and spiritual planes into physical manifestation. All great art, writing, music, and innovation demonstrates this principle. To enhance creativity, consciously work with correspondence. Cultivate receptivity to inspiration from higher planes through meditation, nature immersion, or contemplative practices. Create environments that correspond to the qualities you wish to express: beauty, harmony, dynamism, peace. Use symbolic elements that resonate with your creative intention. Recognize that creative blocks often reflect misalignments between different aspects of self. Creative visualization becomes particularly powerful when practiced with an understanding of correspondence. 1. Clearly imagine your creative project as already complete. 2. Feel the emotional state associated with its completion. 3. Maintain this internal state while allowing the physical manifestation to unfold. 4. Notice how external circumstances align to support your creative process. As the poet William Blake intuited, what is now proved was once only imagined, a perfect expression of mental to physical correspondence. For those on a spiritual path, correspondence offers profound insights into the nature of consciousness and its relationship to manifest reality. By recognizing how spiritual principles manifest across all planes, we gain access to deeper understanding. Use correspondence as a map for spiritual development. Observe how spiritual truths manifest in natural processes. Recognize how cosmic cycles reflect in personal life phases. See how ancient spiritual teachings describe the same patterns across different symbolic languages. Experience directly how expanding consciousness transforms external reality. The practice of as above, so below contemplation can accelerate spiritual growth. 1. Select a spiritual principle such as unity, love, or truth. 2. Contemplate how this principle manifests across different planes from cosmic to personal. 3. Integrate insights from this contemplation into daily awareness. 4. Allow your understanding to continually expand through direct experience. Many spiritual traditions teach that enlightenment comes through recognizing the correspondence between individual consciousness and universal consciousness, the ultimate expression of as within, so without. Our relationship with the natural world provides one of the clearest demonstrations of correspondence. The health of our environment directly reflects collective consciousness, while our personal environments mirror our individual states. Create harmonious correspondence with your environment. Design living and working spaces that reflect your highest values and aspirations. Engage consciously with natural cycles and rhythms. Notice how your internal state affects your perception of and interaction with environments. Recognize that environmental healing begins with healing the human-nature relationship. The practice of environmental correspondence can be both personal and collective. 1. Cultivate internal harmony and observe how it manifests in your immediate surroundings. 2. Extend this awareness to wider environments, community, ecosystem, planet. 3. Participate in creating environments that reflect expanded consciousness. 4. Recognize your role in the collective manifestation of environmental conditions. As indigenous wisdom has always maintained, what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves, a profound expression of environmental correspondence. For those who have mastered the fundamentals, the law of correspondence offers profound applications that extend beyond ordinary perception and experience. These advanced practices require disciplined study, consistent application, and expanded awareness. While some may consider these applications esoteric or mystical, they emerge naturally from deep understanding of correspondence principles. As with all Hermetic teachings, experience is the true teacher. Theoretical knowledge must be validated through direct perception and application. At the most advanced level, practitioners use correspondence to consciously create reality through precise alignment of all planes of being. This is not wishful thinking or mere visualization, but a comprehensive practice involving the deliberate orchestration of thought, emotion, energy, and action. 1. Clearly define the reality you wish to create, ensuring alignment with your highest purpose. 2. Enter a state of consciousness where you experience your intention as already manifest. 3. Harmonize all planes of your being with this new reality: thoughts, emotions, etheric patterns, and physical actions. 4. Maintain this alignment while allowing external manifestation to unfold naturally. 5. Adjust internal patterns when obstacles arise, recognizing them as reflections of misalignments. The key to this process is recognizing that external reality always corresponds to the dominant patterns of consciousness. By deliberately establishing new patterns within, practitioners create the conditions for corresponding external manifestation. This ability does not violate natural law but works with it. As Hermetic teacher Walter Russell observed, "That which you wish to create, you must first become." Another advanced application involves using correspondence to access knowledge beyond ordinary learning methods. Since patterns repeat across all planes, understanding one manifestation provides insight into all others. 1. Enter a receptive state of consciousness through meditation or contemplative practices. 2. Focus attention on a subject you wish to understand. 3. Recognize corresponding patterns across different domains of knowledge. 4. Allow intuitive insights to emerge through recognition of these patterns. 5. Validate insights through practical application and further observation. Many scientific breakthroughs, artistic inspirations, and philosophical insights have emerged through this process. Practitioners report experiencing direct knowing that transcends intellectual analysis, knowledge that emerges from recognizing universal patterns. This is not contrary to rational understanding, but complementary to it. As Nobel physicist Richard Feynman noted, nature uses only the longest threads to weave her patterns, so each small piece of her fabric reveals the organization of the entire tapestry. Advanced healing practitioners work consciously with correspondence to address the root causes of conditions across multiple planes of existence. Recognizing that physical manifestations are the final expression of patterns from subtler planes, they work to harmonize the entire system. 1. Perceive the pattern of disharmony across all relevant planes. 2. Identify the originating plane where the pattern first appears. 3. Work directly with that plane to re-establish harmony. 4. Allow the corrected pattern to flow through all planes to physical manifestation. This approach recognizes that some conditions originate in physical trauma and require physical intervention, while others stem from emotional, mental, or spiritual imbalances that manifest physically. True healing addresses the cause at its source, allowing correspondence to carry the healing through all planes. Many traditions describe this as spiritual healing, but it is more accurately understood as multidimensional harmonization based on correspondence principles. One of the most profound applications involves recognizing how temporal patterns correspond across different cycles and scales. This understanding allows for recognizing emerging trends and potentials before they fully manifest. 1. Study cyclical patterns in nature, history, and personal experience. 2. Identify corresponding patterns across different time scales. 3. Recognize early manifestations of emerging cycles. 4. Use this awareness to harmonize with beneficial currents and transform challenging ones. This is not a prediction in the conventional sense, but recognition of how patterns unfold across time. As the I Ching wisdom states, "He who understands the seasons of heaven and earth need never be surprised by change." Many indigenous traditions maintain calendrical systems based on correspondence between cosmic cycles and earthly events. These are not superstitions, but sophisticated systems for tracking pattern correspondence across temporal dimensions. Perhaps the ultimate application of correspondence is conscious evolution, the deliberate expansion of awareness beyond ordinary human consciousness. Since consciousness creates reality through correspondence, evolving consciousness transforms reality at all levels. 1. Recognize current limitations in perception and understanding. 2. Expose yourself to expanded patterns through study, practice, and experience. 3. Integrate these patterns into your consciousness through contemplation and application. 4. Allow your awareness to naturally expand to encompass larger patterns. 5. Witness how your evolving consciousness manifests corresponding changes in your reality. This is not a linear process, but a spiral of expanding awareness. Each new level of understanding reveals previously unseen patterns, which in turn leads to further expansion. As consciousness evolves, perception of correspondence becomes increasingly direct and comprehensive. What begins as intellectual understanding becomes lived experience, a natural recognition of the interconnected nature of all existence. While individual application of correspondence principles can transform personal reality, the most profound implications emerge when we recognize how this law operates at collective levels. Social structures, cultural evolution, and global challenges all reflect collective consciousness through correspondence. Understanding this dynamic offers powerful insights for those seeking to participate consciously in collective transformation. Rather than focusing solely on external reform, this approach recognizes that lasting change requires shifts in collective awareness that then manifest as new social realities. All social institutions, from political systems and economic structures to educational models and cultural norms, are external manifestations of collective consciousness. They reflect dominant beliefs, values, and awareness levels of the societies that create them. Observe how different societies manifest institutions that correspond to their collective consciousness. Notice how hierarchical awareness creates hierarchical structures, fragmentary thinking produces fragmented systems, and expanded consciousness generates more integrated and harmonious social forms. When we understand this correspondence, we see that attempting to impose new structures without addressing collective consciousness often fails to produce lasting change. As Hermetic teacher Manly P. Hall observed, nations rise and fall upon the quality of their thoughts. Cultural expressions, art, music, literature, architecture, technology directly reflect the consciousness of their creators and the collective awareness of their time. As consciousness evolves, cultural manifestations naturally transform to correspond with new awareness levels. Throughout history, periods of expanded consciousness have produced cultural renaissances characterized by integrated worldviews, harmonic aesthetics, and innovations that serve collective well-being. Conversely, contracted consciousness manifests as fragmented, discordant, and exploitative cultural forms. Those working consciously with cultural evolution recognize that introducing new ideas, aesthetics, and technologies helps expand collective awareness through correspondence. Beautiful, harmonious, and integrated cultural forms help elevate consciousness, creating an upward spiral of evolution. Global challenges, environmental degradation, social inequality, conflict, and systemic dysfunctions are not random problems, but precise correspondences to collective patterns of consciousness. They serve as mirrors reflecting aspects of humanity's collective shadow that require integration and transformation. Rather than treating symptoms, address root causes in collective consciousness. 1. Recognize how specific challenges correspond to particular thought patterns, beliefs, and perceptions. 2. Work to transform these patterns within yourself and your sphere of influence. 3. Create alternative models that demonstrate new possibilities. 4. Contribute to collective awareness expansion through education, communication, and example. Many wisdom traditions teach that challenges appear to reveal what requires healing. As the Hermetic axiom states, problems cannot be solved from the same consciousness that created them. Those who understand correspondence have a unique opportunity to participate consciously in collective evolution by serving as bridges between different awareness levels, creating manifestations that reflect expanded consciousness, facilitating the integration of emerging patterns, helping others recognize correspondence in action. The practice involves maintaining awareness of both current reality and emerging possibilities, while embodying the new patterns you wish to see manifest. This creates a living demonstration of correspondence that inspires others and contributes to collective transformation. As visionary Buckminster Fuller recognized, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Beyond practical applications lies the mystical dimension of correspondence, the direct experience of unity consciousness, where all separation dissolves and the interconnection of all existence is directly perceived. This is not metaphorical understanding, but lived reality that transforms one's entire relationship with existence. Mystics, sages, and contemplatives across traditions describe remarkably similar experiences of this state, though their interpretations and expressions vary according to cultural contexts. What they share is direct perception of correspondence, not as an abstract principle but as the fundamental nature of reality. The highest expression of correspondence is the direct experience of unity consciousness, the recognition that all existence is fundamentally one, expressing itself in infinite diversity. This perspective represents the pinnacle of spiritual realization across many traditions. In this state of awareness, the apparent boundaries between self and other dissolve. The individual consciousness recognizes itself as a focal point of the universal consciousness, like a wave realizing it is the ocean. This isn't merely an intellectual understanding but a direct experiential knowing. Throughout history, mystics, sages, and contemplatives have described this experience using different language but pointing to the same reality. The Vedantic tradition speaks of Brahman as the underlying reality of all existence, with individual consciousness, Atman, being identical to this universal ground of being. Zen Buddhism points to this through concepts like Buddha nature and the experience of Satori, sudden enlightenment where one directly perceives the interconnected nature of all phenomena. Sufi mystics speak of Fana, the annihilation of the separate self in union with the divine, where the drop returns to the ocean. This unitive experience transforms one's relationship with all of existence. From this vantage point, compassion flows naturally as an expression of self-love, since all beings are recognized as manifestations of the same consciousness. The boundaries between I and other become permeable and ultimately illusory. The journey of integration. Yet the challenge lies not merely in glimpsing this unity, but in integrating it into daily life. The mystic's journey involves bringing this awareness down from the mountaintop and into the marketplace. This integration process requires patience, practice, and profound humility. When unity consciousness is fully embodied, one lives in what some traditions call sahaja samadhi, or natural enlightenment, where transcendent awareness coexists with full participation in the world. The individual becomes a conscious vessel through which the universal expresses itself, responding to life's circumstances with spontaneous wisdom and compassion. The paradox of unity and diversity. The unitive experience doesn't negate diversity, it celebrates it. Just as white light refracts into a rainbow of colors, the singular consciousness manifests as infinite expressions. Each being becomes recognized as a unique facet of the same jewel of existence, precious in its particularity while inseparable from the whole. This paradox, unity within diversity, diversity within unity, resolves itself in direct experience. The mind that operates through dualistic concepts cannot fully grasp it, yet awareness itself can embrace both simultaneously. Evolutionary significance. From an evolutionary perspective, the emergence of unity consciousness represents a quantum leap in human development. When individuals awaken to this reality, they naturally orient toward the well-being of the whole rather than narrow self-interest. The separate self-sense that drives competition, exploitation, and conflict begins to dissolve. As more individuals experience and embody this awareness, humanity's collective consciousness evolves. Some spiritual traditions suggest that this evolution is not merely a possibility but an inevitability, the universe becoming conscious of itself through the vehicle of human awareness. Practical applications. The implications of unity consciousness extend into every domain of human life. In ethics, it manifests as recognition that harm to others is ultimately harm to oneself. In ecology, it reveals the deep interconnection between human welfare and planetary health. In governance, it points towards systems that honor both individual sovereignty and collective well-being. In healing, it supports approaches that address the whole person, body, mind, and spirit within their environmental and social context. The invitation. The unitive experience stands as both humanity's highest potential and its most natural state, not something to be acquired, but rather revealed through the clearing away of conditioned patterns that obscure this fundamental reality. This invitation to awakening has been extended by wisdom teachers throughout the ages. It calls us not to escape the world, but to see it with new eyes that recognize the sacred in the ordinary and the infinite in the finite. In recognizing our essential unity, we discover that we have never been separate from the source of all being. The journey ends where it began, but with the profound difference that what was once unknown is now experienced directly. The circle closes, and in that completion, we find both our origin and our destiny.